A minute with the Muskogee City Manager Kendall Francis is in. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Ron.
Are you done singing Joni Messina songs? Because I heard you coming down the hallway singing bye, bye, bye.
I am not. I am not.
What a great show.
Oh, phenomenal. Really was. The place was packed. The town was packed. We had people everywhere here in Muskogee, and it was just phenomenal. And they showed up and showed out. Really.
That's the biggest thing. If you all keep showing up to these events, they're going to keep bringing big-time talent.
We are, absolutely.
So, also, over the weekend, I saw a lot of people out there wearing the vests. I kind of felt bad.
Welcome to tonight's special call, Muskogee City Council, April 22nd, 2026. If you will, please rise for the flag salutes and invocation led by Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Shall we pray? Dear Lord, once again, we just come thanking you for the gift of another day. Thank you for all the blessings you bestowed upon us within this day. I ask that you would come into the room tonight, look upon your city councilors, lead us and guide us in the direction that we will be doing the things that's pleasing in your sight. These and many other blessings we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Attention, salute, pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The Oklahoma salute.
I salute the flag of the state of Oklahoma. Its symbols of peace unite all peoples.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Ryan Lowe.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Here.
Tracy Hoos. Shirley Hilton Flannery. Melody Cranford.
Here.
Dan Hall.
Here.
Tom Martindale.
Here.
Mike Brawley.
Here.
Jeremy Schuler.
Here. Item 1.
Discuss and consider approval of Resolution Number 3087, declaring a local emergency under the Oklahoma Emergency Management Act of 2003 for the City of Muskogee, or take other necessary action.
Thank you all for being here. This is my agenda item this evening. I'm going to read you a statement that I prepared. A week ago Tuesday night, during the late evening hours, a severe weather event impacted neighborhoods on the southeast side of our city. I was on scene within minutes and observed widespread damage, including significant destruction in the Grandview 7 neighborhood. I witnessed families standing in the rain, many still in their pajamas, looking at their damaged homes, vehicles, and property in shock at what had just occurred. I spoke with many of them that night and assured them that we were there with them. The following day, Ward 2 council members and I returned to the affected areas to survey the damage and continue speaking directly with residents. Almost immediately, calls began pouring in, people asking for help, for answers, and most importantly, asking where their city leadership was. This was not just another thunderstorm. The National Weather Service has since confirmed that this was an EF1 tornado, with winds exceeding 100 miles per hour. These are our friends, neighbors, and colleagues, but above all, they're hard-working, tax-paying citizens who expect their leadership to show up in times of crisis. I understand that the city cannot solve every financial hardship, nor is that the role of government. However, doing nothing, failing to act in a moment of clear need is simply unacceptable. Moving forward, I would like to work with my colleagues to establish an emergency fund to respond to events like this. We must ensure that we are prepared to act swiftly and effectively to support the very people who entrusted us with the responsibility to lead. Thank you for your consideration. I welcome your input and any questions you may have. We have two citizens that have signed up to speak. First one, Miss Cindy Dennis. If you would come up to the podium, state your name, and please lean into that mic a little bit. It's hard to hear sometimes. And you'll have 5 minutes.
My name is Cindy Dennis, and I live in Grandview 7. I've lived in Muskogee since probably 98. Grew up here, graduated. My parents had a business which I took over, and it's been in business for 50 years. We've paid many, many years of taxes, and we do point-of-sale taxes, which also helps our city to be able to do things that they need to do. I've never been in a tornado before, which this one, at least for me, was pretty scary. We had the alarm go off on our phones, and so we knew something could be happening. So I was looking out, the back window. All I saw was a blur. My husband looked out the front. He noticed a pressure change in our house because our windows were busted out, and screamed, "Run to the closet." Our house lost quite a few of the shingles, so we're probably going to have to get a roof replaced. Fences were down all around us, debris everywhere. And we're a hard-working family, and we're just an average family. But, we also feel like that when there are times of need, and it's not just, like you said, it's not a regular thunderstorm. It's not like we're, asking for you to fix our houses or whatever. It's just try and help when you can. Try and, you would want that for each of y'all's families and each of your homes. If somebody can carry off debris, then great. That's, just something that we should do to take care of our neighbors in their time of need. And anyway, that's just pretty much what I wanted to say. I hope that you all consider this, and I hope that each and every one of you all never have to go through a tornado. It's the scariest thing that you could be in, having things ripped around you. And fortunately, nobody was hurt that we know of. Nobody was killed. But, there is a lot of damage. And I invite all y'all to come out and look at it if you can get out there, like he said. I think this needs to be passed. And not only that, the world is watching. If you want businesses to come here, you want to grow this town, they need to see how you're going to react if, their business gets damaged, or, if they need help. They need to see us as a community come together and help each other. And I appreciate you all listening to me, and I thank the mayor for coming by to talk to us, and that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Dennis.
Thank you.
Next citizen assigned up to speak, Jennifer Hollingshed. Ms. Hollingshed, if you would, step up to the podium there, state your name, and you'll have 5 minutes.
Thank you. My name's Jennifer Hollingshead, and we live at 509 Hillcrest in Grandview 7. We've been there about 18 and a half years. My husband John and I, we raised our family there. Our kids are grown and gone now. But we woke up to our phones going off that night. John's a storm chaser, so we don't usually, pay attention to things like that. She's like, it'll be fine. But he looked out the window. We ran to the closet. We started hearing things hitting our home, hearing loud noises. And it was a very scary feeling, not knowing what you're going to go outside to. Once the storm passed, we went out, we checked out our house, checked out our neighbors, and then we went to check out my 2 businesses nearby on Peak Boulevard. They did not withstand damage, thank goodness. But anyhow, so we had a lot of debris in the neighborhood. So much debris that Adam Potts with Lawn Stars, he came that morning, the morning after the tornado hit, and he was hauling out debris for everyone free of charge. He volunteered his time. I asked him today how much he hauled out of our neighborhood. That very first day, he hauled out 15 dump trailer loads of debris on his own with his crew. That was just the first day. We thought, well, the city's going to come by. They're going to send their big truck by. We've seen that happen in other with other cases, like the flood. I believe it was in 2019. The grapple truck was out then. Then we heard it's not going to happen. So we got together and found some local businesses that would help us out. These businesses, they volunteered their time. They took the burden of what we feel like our city should have done for us. Mike Cordell with Cordell Tree Service, he hauled out 5 very large loads. I'm not sure if his truck is as large as the city's arm truck, but he hauled out 5 huge loads on Monday. He volunteered his time and the time of his crew. He paid them to work for us in our neighborhood. On Sunday, we had Dalton Clay with 5-Star, I believe it's 5-Star Demolition. He was there. He hauled out 5 loads, 5 trailer loads, roll-off loads, and then he had one he said was a 30-yard load. My understanding, that's pretty big. So he volunteered his time as well as his crew. And Chad Carrier with American General Contracting did the same thing. They came out, they did physical labor for us. We weren't asking the city for physical labor. We were just asking for you guys to pick up debris. A lot of our brush and limbs were picked up by these local businesses. They took that burden for us. We have storm debris. I took about maybe 15 photos this morning of what's still there. And then I've talked to our neighbors, and maybe about 10 or 12 people said that they will have a lot of debris after they are able to work this weekend. We're a working class neighborhood. A lot of our neighbors, they work all day, every day. We have a few elderly people mixed in that, need our help as well. As we're cleaning up our own homes, we're helping out each other as well. So what we would like for the city to do for us is pick up a load this week and come back next week and pick up a load after people have had an opportunity to work this weekend. I'm not one to bash my city. I'm a nearly lifelong Muskogee citizen, and I love this city. It drives me insane when I see people on social media bashing my city. I have 2 local businesses here, small businesses, and I love Muskogee. And if you guys can do this for us, pick up our debris, we would greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Yeah, I have a question, I guess. So will this resolution provide us the capability in the future to enact services quicker, easier, or what would be the process at that point? Or is this kind of a one-time thing for this, and then we'll work on something else in the future? Or
This is specifically for this incident, so it's a declaration of emergency for this incident. If the council would like to do something in the future that streamlines the process, we'd have to take that up in another issue.
Okay, thank you.
And that's kind of where I was looking at, because I know when I called the mayor of Moore, Oklahoma, and they talked about that when they have the big tornadoes, they have FEMA that takes over everything. But then they also have a a process and they have a policy set in place with a funding mechanism that kicks in on smaller tornadoes that would help these people pick up stuff. Even if it was a contractor, if the city had contracts out that we could have contracted with and said, hey, here's this, we got the money, just go do it right now, and it's already in place. And I would like to chase that kind of a mechanism for emergencies like this in the future.
I actually have gotten the City of Moore's Emergency Services Plan. It's about 300 pages long. Haven't had a chance to go through it yet, but Tyler Evans and I do have a meeting set up to look at what we already have in place as far as our emergency plan and protocol is, and whatever changes we think need to be made that we can bring to Mr. Francis, and then go from there as far as what does council need to do and what decisions does council need to make.
Okay. When I was talking to the mayor, he didn't say it was 300 pages when I told him to email it to you. I'm sorry.
Mr. Brawley, to your point, I believe in the future it would have to rise to the extent of being an emergency, not just if we have a thunderstorm or a wind event. We would have to decide if we wanted to declare an emergency at that time, and I think that would be the difference.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I understand that. I just wanted to, if there's a way we could streamline that whole process, just be quicker about it.
Yes.
Maybe after you all go through that, we can go in at that time and do something for future.
So to help them now, like she was wanting to go pick up stuff this weekend, what would that look like? What would we need to do to make that happen?
So it would be, I mean, if the council would like that to happen, we can make that happen. Now, I don't know, I'm going to have to defer to Mike whether that would be his crews, or city crews, I should say, or if we're in a position where we'd have to contract that.
So with the driving out there and just doing a windshield assessment, what we have left is something that we could manage in-house. We just have the one knuckle boom truck, and it's only a 20-yard truck. It would still take several days to finish cleaning up, but we could finish it up. We would just have to have a mechanism to pay for it at the landfill. We don't have an account set up specific for that, but I'm sure we can get that worked out.
We could handle that.
So I asked Kendall about waiving those fees over the past weekend so that the loads that are actually being taken out there for this area, the fees would be waived. So that we wouldn't have to, I mean, if the contractors are going to volunteer to take the things out there, then as a city, we could waive the fees for those certain people that we know are taking it, or even if the city is taking it, waive the fees for what you are doing instead of charging to get it done.
So Counselor, let me make sure I'm clear. So the brush and limb site we own, we manage, and we burn out there, and it is completely free.
Right.
The other debris, the fence material and stuff like that would have to go to the landfill, which is not owned and operated by the city.
So if the
It's
city
waste
could pay the
management's.
So if the city could pay those fees, that was my question to him, if the city could pay those fees or somewhere they could be worked out so that they are not having to pay the fees to get the debris out there.
Yeah, we're on the same page. I just need an account set up to take it.
Yeah, so, and we've had those conversations, I've had those conversations with some of the contractors. It's a mechanism, try to figure out, are they responding for Grandview 7, or are they hauling in from other places? That's some of the issues. As we move forward, and like I said, we haven't reviewed Moore's policy, but there needs to be some sort of guidelines as to what qualifies and what doesn't. Typically, an emergency declaration really is issued to help us bypass purchasing policies. If we know that the expense is going to be beyond what our typical purchasing policy allows, then we issue an emergency declaration that helps us streamline that portion of things. To simply say it's an emergency, there's got to be some parameters as to what qualifies for an emergency. This is not going to, and I could let Tyler Evans speak to this, but this is not going to rise to the level of a declared emergency, because that it's based on dollar amounts of damage and stuff. And while I'm empathetic for those people that were affected, it just simply doesn't rise to that level. So what parameters would the council like to see in place for when the city steps in and provides assistance? Does a tornado, does that, or is, hard straight line winds? There are things, there's a lot of varying degrees that I want to make sure that if we do for one, we do for all in a well thought out strategic way.
Absolutely. So I have, Mr. Stewart, I spoke with State Senator Avery Fricks, and they have went across the hall while they were in session and spoke with ODEQ, and they are waiving the fees when it comes to hazardous materials at the landfill. So that's a little bit of a cost savings there. This is my first meeting here. Obviously, we want to do things the right way, and we want to do things the lawful way. We can talk about what the parameters are, and when your neighborhood's been destroyed, it's an emergency to those folks, and it'd be an emergency to me. So, we need to discuss it and decide, when we're going to act. But in my opinion, it's our job to come to the aid of taxpaying citizens of Muskogee, Oklahoma, when they need us the most. That's something that we'll have to figure out up here. But as simple as sending a truck out and picking up some debris, I don't think should be too political. And those are just my opinions.
And along those same lines, I agree with you on that, Ryan. We got to be citizens and good neighbors to the people that put us all in these offices. And sometimes it doesn't reach to what FEMA classifies as an emergency, but we need to at least present something to our people that makes it where they can function back at their residence. I don't think that it would hurt us too bad to go by and pick up all their limbs and stuff and get them out of the road so they can probably get back to somewhat normal life or putting things back together. I don't think they're wanting us to rebuild their house or do a FEMA-size emergency management plan, but I do think that somewhere we need to be good citizens and good counselors to put something together that says when these happen to our neighborhoods, we're going to respond to make it at least where they can get up and down the roads, and so we can get them back to functioning or make it easier for them, even if it's just debris carry off. Those things makes their life a little bit easier so they can get back to putting their life back together. And that's all I'm kind of asking for tonight. It doesn't have to be a massive disaster for us to be good citizens and good stewards to our citizens.
I would like to shameless plug that we are a Just Serve city, and if we could get on that Just Serve app and put in the volunteers that we need to finish up the cleanup and helping with that. I've talked to Donna and some of them over there. If we could get volunteers to just go back and finish up and kind of tighten up what they're needing help with, and then have it all, like you're saying, carried off because it is doable, and then figure out that. I think that's where we need to really, just fine-tune this, and then we can come back and revisit, and figure out what we need to do long-term. But as for now, let's figure out how we can just get volunteers over there, get this finished up so that all this stuff can be hauled off, figure out how to pay, if those fees are being waived for the hazardous materials, what fees we would need to pay, and where that's coming from our budget, and move forward instead of having this whole long drawn out conversation. It's just got to be done. We've got to get it done.
And thank you so much to the local business owners that came out and spent their money and their time and brought their staff, especially on a Sunday afternoon. We want to recognize those folks as well. Very much appreciated.
Mr. Stewart, I know last weekend there was a site where they could bring the debris, Is that going to be open this weekend?
So it is right now currently open through this weekend through Sunday.
Okay. All right. And just out of curiosity, was there any response that the city took immediately after the storm?
So we were out moving trees all over town that night. And our process is to clean the streets, and we push the tree limbs up on the curb, which is kind of confusing because the next day when we move them out of the street, we go pick them up, which makes people think we're picking up stuff at the residence, which we're not. We're just picking up what we moved that night. We were doing that. We were chasing traffic lights and high water all at the same time. And then we decided the very first thing, Jason Green, who's sitting here with me, it is mine and his responsibility the next morning to do an assessment, let the city manager know if there's enough damage that we need to open our limb site, which we did, and we opened it. We opened that so people can dump for free. That's the very first move we make. And then we just assess as we go to see how long we need to keep it open. Unfortunately, when we open it, it's very hard to close it back down because debris just keeps coming. One of the things I would like to make sure that we're very clear on is how we're going to handle the debris that we pick up. Is the city going to do all the picking up and hauling it out there, or are we going to let the contractors do it? And the reason I asked is because I deal with Pete Schultz, who's over waste management, and he's concerned about just turning it open to contractors bringing debris in because he gets abused as well. And what he said was we'd have to have some kind of organized list, something that tells them who's acceptable and who's not. And then also to put some kind of parameter around it where it does close down. That could always be extended, but at least it locks it into a time frame at first and gives us, and that window could be large if it needed to be, but it does give us a time frame to shut down. That's another thing that we have a hard time in Public Works with, is once we start doing this type of debris removal is actually getting it shut down, because it just keeps getting called in and called in. And we know that some of it is not storm debris. Sure. And I'm sure not trying to shed a bad light on it, but that's just what happens to us.
So Ms. Hollingshead, when she was speaking, asked for 2 weeks. So we know that we would need it for at least the 2-week time frame, because that's their time frame that they're asking for sure. And then we could revisit maybe at that 2-week mark to see if it needs to be extended. But for sure, at least the 2 weeks is they're asking for.
So right now, and I'll ask Jason to correct me if I'm wrong, but we're only getting 1 or 2 loads a day. We're thinking it's going to be again on Saturday and Sunday when people actually have time to haul.
Right.
So
we got a total of 10 loads today, and very little. I mean, there's only one truck that was pretty big size with a trailer. The rest of them was little.
Right, kind of like she said, though, they're working class families, so they're working through the week. So these couple of weekends for them to be home and kind of get things navigated and lined out, I think the 2 weeks for sure, and then we revisit. So,
well, Counselor, we recognize that, and that's why we're opening it through the weekend. So thank you for your point.
So, Kendall, you were talking about the declaration that's before us tonight. So, is this going to be something that we can pass in its current state, or were you saying that it doesn't rise to this level? And if that is the case, we still will respond, with those other things that we've been doing to try to help out?
Okay, so to be clear, you can pass this as it is. If it doesn't rise to the level of the declaration, that's not an issue.
Okay.
What this kind of does is kind of give us a little bit of parameters to say that an emergency was declared in this event, and that's why the city is intervening and taking these steps. Now, if it would have been to the point where it did rise to that level, then we'd be eligible for some of the reimbursement. We'd be tracking our hours and doing some different things to make sure the city was properly reimbursed. But passing this resolution, we can do it with or without the resolution.
So, my final question: how will we proceed with Mayor Lowe's request to set up a fund in the future for future storms?
I think they want to do that after they read Moore's 300-page program.
Yeah, I think we're going to need more time as staff to digest that and see how that could translate here. Take what, maybe it's copy and paste, maybe it's not, but see if we can take their ideas and translate it here to Muskogee and come to bring something back to the table that we think would be workable for future events.
So, and if we're going to send the city crew or contractor out, they need to be aware that we're not going to come up into their yard to get stuff. That we're going to pick it up at the curb, right?
Now, see, now that is one thing that the emergency declaration, and actually, did we
It does. The resolution does require that the items be at the right-of-way for pickup.
Right.
And just for a parliamentary procedure issue, anything regarding a fund to be set up, that's not part of the agenda tonight, and so that's something that we'll have to take up at another day.
Thank you.
But we don't want to go into people's yards because they mentioned stuff like that. But we'll pick it up starting when, do you think? If we're going to vote, do we need to vote on this to have them start picking it up tomorrow, the next day?
We can start immediately. You tell us to start and we'll start.
So we really don't even need this to do any of that?
Theoretically, no.
Okay.
But there is clear understanding that we're only going to pick up in the right-of-way, just for the protection of.
So you want us to go ahead and vote on this tonight? Move for approval?
It's not needed.
Okay.
I mean, if you want to, you can, but it is not needed.
Okay. Well, we're basically just want to make sure that something is, that we start moving the ball
Right.
and get stuff done.
We don't have to vote for this to be an emergency to go in and give direction to pick up limbs at the curb, the right of way.
Right. And, I think I would like some kind of time limit put around it. And the reason I say so Saturday or Friday night, it was we had some pretty heavy winds, and there's a lot of tree damage in the rest of the city from straight line winds. And so I think that's part of the reason we're continuing to see a need for the tree dump to be open. People are responding, but
Right. So our action tonight, an appropriate action would be to
authorize me to direct staff to clean up debris, tree and limb debris, and we want all debris out of the right of way. Do we say Grandview 7? I don't know if that's the correct.
So we do have debris in other areas of town, and if you limit it to Grandview 7,
Well, and see,
our phones are going to blow up again.
And that's what I'm.
I would say the tornado affected area.
Okay.
It's documented where that went through. That's just my opinion. And
So even though the storm went through that one particular area, we had trees down all over town.
Yeah.
I don't think that the storm was as heavy in the other areas of town, but it caused damage throughout the town.
And candidly, that's what makes this so difficult.
Right.
And part of the reason that I chose not to send staff into those areas, because
I need to put a deadline of the date we're going to do this to.
Well, that would be much appreciated.
I would say 2 weeks would give plenty of time for folks to get their stuff out, especially with the contractors' help that we've had. Just give a start date in 2 weeks from that day. We'll be done.
I agree.
so if we go through 2 weeks from today would be May 6th. That's 2 weekends. It will cover 2 weekends if they're looking for work.
Sounds good.
Yes.
So directly, we can come and do this pickup in Grandview 7, but it's probably important to note that any debris across the towns that site is open, that they can bring and dump. So, all of Muskogee won't feel left out.
Yeah, we've opened it to the entire town. One of the other things I wish we'd make sure that is public is that it gets separated. That for example, fence material's not in the brush pile. That if you got brush separated between that and debris, because we're going to take one to the landfill and one to our burn site. And we can't separate it with that grapple. When we're out there, it'd be manpower we'd have to have, so.
Good point.
So what is our verbiage that we need here?
Direction to staff and then what that is.
Till May 6th to pick up debris in the right of way.
All right, so I move that we direct staff to clear these debris and with a time frame of opening up this dump for them for the time frame until May 6th. Is that what I need to say?
Placed in the right of
Placed in
way.
the right of way
And are you determining?
and separated.
Are you determining an area?
No, because he just said it's all over.
I will say 100% of the calls and messages that I received were the Grandview 7 area. I didn't have anybody else asking for help other than the Grandview 7 area. I had one lady mention cobblestone, but she said we've pretty much got all our stuff handled in that area. So that's the gist of who contacted me.
Woodlands got hit pretty well too, and then there was an area up by what I call Tower Hill, which is 7th and Tamaroa up in that area. Had quite a bit.
So I think just making this motion, we approve this, and then at their discretion, they can navigate like high priority and trickle to where they need to.
Yeah, I would stress tornado affected area. I know it's a broad statement, and then the 2-week process, and then just tell them what it has to be supported or separated.
So that's my motion.
I'll second it.
I would like to add one last thing. We're not just going to use our knuckle boom. We'll probably have the street department out there with some front end loaders and dump trucks as well, so we can get it up in that 2-week time frame.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So I'm still not clear on the motion that's at hand. So are we saying that this action can only be used in the Grandview 7, the tornado area, or?
Tornado area.
No, I did not say tornado area. In the city. He said city.
Are you guys going to be able to handle that?
So we will probably have to stop some other projects that we're doing, but we'll put focus on it with environmental and street, and we can probably get it done in that 2-week time frame.
Thank you.
This is 2 weeks from Monday, by the way.
Thank you.
Have a motion?
So for clarity, I think you're talking about 2 different days. You said 2 weeks from today. He said 2 weeks from Monday. I just want clarification on a date.
We need 2 weeks from Monday.
2 weeks from Monday.
This coming Monday?
So
The 11th?
The 11th, May 11th.
Okay. You amend your motion. Do you amend your second, Shirley?
When
To
will the
11th?
pickup start? When will the pickup start from the city?
We're going to start picking up tomorrow.
Okay. And extend 2 weeks from Monday to May 11th?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ready for roll call? Are you ready for roll call?
Roll call?
Jeremy Schuler?
Here?
No.
Yes. Yes.
Mike Brawley?
Yes.
Tom Martindale?
Yes.
Dan Hall?
Yes.
Melody Cranford?
Yes.
Shirley Hilton Flannery?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Jerry Creed?
Yes.
And Mayor Ryan Lowe?
Yes. Item passes. Thank you. The meeting is adjourned.